Homes returning to the property market. Let's have a look. Good morning everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my morning stein of coffee and I thought we'd have a look at this article from realestate.com.au, which is discussing, as they call it, boomerang homes. Homes returning to the market during the pandemic. Relistings. We've looked at similar things before. One thing that's interesting, and I'll just bring it up now, is on the HeiseSays website, where we looked at just the auction clearance rates. And one thing you would find, because, there's a bias to it, it's not very accurate, is that properties would be passed in, they wouldn't sell at auction, and then they would suddenly appear for sale on the site days later, or next week. And it wouldn't be taken into account with the auction clearance rates considerations, particularly if it wasn't reported as not sold. So there you go. There you go, guys. And before we go through this, let's just jump over to the property data room. And we'll have a look at some residential information just to get a feel for where some of these numbers are sitting. And while that's loading up, I'm going to have a stein of coffee. It's a great way to start the day, everyone. Half a litre of straight black coffee. So let's look at the median residential house value. And this is for April 30th, 2020. So only several months out of date. Sydney's at $930,000 for the median value. Then you have Melbourne at $730,000. Canberra at $685,000. The weighted average at $678,000. Good old Brisbane at $540,000. Hobart at $500,000. Perth at $475,000, Darwin at $470,000, and Adelaide at $462,000. Adelaide's approaching something I would consider a reasonable mortgage. There's a reason why people are struggling to get deposits for these things. So let's have a look at these properties that keep returning back to the market. And what does that tell us? What does that tell us? Are people starting to get the tap on the shoulder? Are they starting to realize these investment properties they've invested into that are not paying any rent? Might be time they cut their losses. So boomerang homes. More homes returned to market during the pandemic, the data shows. Residential property deals are falling over and homes are being re-advertised amid pandemic uncertainty and financial belt tightening. Data compiled by realestate.com.au shows a growing trend in the number of under-offer listings being re-advertised, prompting speculation that deals are falling through because of tighter lending restrictions by the banks and home buyer cold feet. So what we'll do is we'll jump over here to the website and we'll have a look here at this chart. Because when I'm marking it up, I actually keep a record of the sites, which is useful if sometimes this stuff changes, articles change. So we can see here at a national level, there you go, the percentage of properties that were under offer but not sold. In March, it was properties not sold was 17.97%, and that's climbed back up to 12.48. If you have a look at Victoria, you can see, there we go, it's climbing up. New South Wales, again, look how high, that peaked over 20%. Good old Queensland, we'll turn off national, we'll look at Queensland. Where are we? Sitting at 11.4. WA going up over 16%. South Australia, heading up. Tasmania, heading up. ACT, heading down. It's the only one heading down. Somehow, I'm not surprised. So week-on-week figures between January and July 2020 shows an increasing number of boomerang homes nationally. That is, properties returning to the market after having accepted an offer accepted. Okay, so this isn't people passing in at an auction sale or kind of negotiation. An offer was accepted. So an offer's been made, it's been accepted, and then they've had to pull out, either because they couldn't get financing or there were some issues that were identified during their due diligence about the property. What do you think, everyone? If we look here at the data going back, 11% into, that's pretty. And then boom, look at that spike in March. And it's trending up as well. While there is no requirement for agents to notify realestate.com.au of confirmed sales, the available data highlights a trend in properties transitioning from under offer back to for sale, then rather the site's sold listings. Banks tighten up as buyers back away. This seems to be different to some of the things the spruikers were telling us, doesn't it? Some of the permables in property. At the start of the first pandemic lockdown, there was a spike in the number of under-offer properties across the country that went back on the market, with a jump from 13.08% to 17.97% in the week commencing the 23rd of March. The following week, the number dropped to 13.76% before decreasing even further, but has gradually risen since mid-April. The end of March was a very bad time for the economy and for property and confidence, said Nerida Conisby, chief economist at realestate.com.au. It was between when we went into lockdown and the next stage, which was the stimulus packages. There was a lot of uncertainty around the period, and as a result, home buyers got cold feet, and banks were super cautious about who they were lending to. Ms. Conisby said the reticence had continued with Australia's growing unemployment. We are finding that banks are well capitalized and they're not under pressure, but they are nervous about the situation, particularly the unemployment situation. And if we have a look here, unemployment is sitting at 7.4% at the moment. Now, what's more concerning is the underutilization rate, and there's different ways of measuring it. I prefer the Royal Morgan data just because, well, frankly, it's a little more realistic. The rule of thumb is you take the unemployment rate and double it to get the real unemployment rate. I don't know about you, but 1 hour a week or 1 hour during the period of work wouldn't be enough to sustain me and my family. So, on one hand, they are lending and have enough money to lend, but they're being very careful about who they lend to. The banks are having to look very carefully at a person's ability to pay back their loan, and in the situation where unemployment is rising, they will be looking very carefully at an individual's employment situation. I can't see that changing anytime soon. Ms. Conisby said it was likely the situation was not quite as dire now, and welcomed this week's announcement from the federal government. JobKeeper and JobSeeker stimulus will be extended until March 2021, albeit at a reduced level. We'll have to see what happens with the economic impacts of the Victorian lockdowns. There's some people arguing that they may have to be in this situation for 2 years. Jesse Jones, sales agent at McGrath Estate Agents St Kilda, said buyers were seeking to capitalise on the low cash rate, with enthusiastic first home buyers flooding the market. But their excitement was often curtailed, with banks less eager to lend than pre-pandemic times. In June, I exchanged on 5 properties and 2 of them fell over due to the purchaser being unable to obtain finance, Mr. Jones said. We had a couple that had made an offer on a property at the right terms, and the vendor was very happy to take that. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the wife's employment was terminated, and the bank then messaged us directly terminating the contract, as a dual income was their policy, and there was no way around it. So just think about this. We're in a situation now where a dual income is not just a bonus to buying a house. It is the policy of the bank to give a home loan. We wonder why our quality of life is decreasing. We wonder why people aren't getting to spend any time with their kids. We wonder why nutcases are pushing for, state education from 3. I mean, come on, guys. Times have changed. Times have changed. Dual income is a requirement. So it's very similar to probably about 18 months ago prior to the Royal Commission into banking, where banks started becoming extremely difficult to get money from. I don't see any changes happening until we're on the other side of this. Sam Bohr, chief executive at mortgage broking group Smartline, said financial institutions were enforcing tougher measures to ensure borrowers could meet the terms of the loan, and collapsing deals were the fallout of this hard-line stance. Properties being relisted is a function of purchase contracts falling over as a result of the buyer's financial situation materially changing for the worst, he said. This is not new, however, has been significantly amplified during the pandemic, as many Australian workers have been stood down and or their income has been reduced. So bankers are expected to continue with tighter lending rules. Tighter lending rules. What are they going to throw then at the market to keep it going? What are they going to throw at property to keep the bubble going, everyone? See, this is the thing. When people are hoping for a crash to property to get into the market, it's going to be harder to get into the market than before, because some of them may just not have that employment anymore and may not have that security. Now they're insisting, to dual income. Dual income. Lenders have introduced steps and process checks to make sure new borrowers can still afford to make their loan payments right up until loan settlement date. Some are even asking for updated payslips from customers as settlement conditions, he said. This way, the lenders protect themselves under their responsible lending obligations and don't extend credit to a customer whose income situation has changed from when they first applied for the loan. Mr. Ball added home buyers should be confident that their employment was secure and their income was unlikely to change prior to committing to purchasing a property. I mean, shouldn't that just be a default, everyone? There is no point progressing with a property purchase if home buyers cannot afford the loan and most likely end up needing to resell the property at a loss more than what they might otherwise incur, he explained. I would also try to negotiate with the selling agent to remove the forfeit deposit clause in the contract sale to protect the buyer's funds. So there we have it, everyone. There we have it. Tightening bank lending restrictions are driving up the number of properties that are being relisted and contracts that are falling through. What do you think this tells us about the state of the property market? Is it going to help the bubble continue to go? Or are we just starting to see the beginnings of this recession? As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on Patreon or YouTube. You can use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care. I'll see you in the next episode.